The alien-human hybrid program has just made the mainstream. Well, I say just. This is from a report from a few months ago, but it is from the most mainstream of news anchors that I can imagine, Bret Baier. And yeah, he did a segment on UFOs/UAPs. And in this segment, they explicitly talk about unexplained pregnancies associated with alien abductions. This is huge. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter links below, and please comment on the story as I'm going through it. Now, I am fascinated by the alien-human hybrid program. Yeah, I think that is an essential part of why many of these beings are here. There are various different reasons given for the hybridization program, and we can get into some of that. But first, I just wanted to highlight that this has gone mainstream. Like I said, Bret Baier, the most mainstream of all news anchors, is covering this now. And so before I go into any detail about the hybridization program, let's just pay homage to that and listen to a little bit of that report. Here goes.
The X-Files music here, but they say the truth is out there, and it might be terrifying. A just uncovered Defense Department summary of UFO-induced effects ranging from abduction and paralysis to electrical shocks and even sexual encounters is shocking the world tonight. The report, again, is from the Defense Department. But what does this all mean? How are we supposed to interpret it when talking about UFOs? We're just starting this investigation. National correspondent William Lajeunesse shows us tonight.
Cataloging accounts from witnesses and victims claiming radiation burns, brain damage, even paralysis after close encounters with UAPs.
This is the most haunting of all the reports from my perspective, because it shows immunological deficiency. It shows altering human DNA. It shows degradation on a cellular level.
Prepared in 2010 by the Pentagon's secret Advanced Aerospace Weapons Program, the report was released only after a Freedom of Information request. It found sufficient incidents, accidents have been accurately reported, and medical data acquired as to support a hypothesis that some advanced systems are already deployed and opaque to full U.S. understandings.
This is from within the documents themselves.
The report says humans have been injured from exposure to UFOs, from abductions and perceived time loss to sexual encounters and unexplained pregnancies.
We're talking about an area where there is intervention with the human being on such a level that it's beyond just negative health effects. Some of this stuff is really bizarre.
Whoa, isn't that amazing? We've got Bret Baier reporting on the hybridization program that has entered the mainstream now. That is amazing. That is insane. So kudos to Bret for actually covering that. I don't even know if Tucker Carlson has covered that. But maybe he has. He's been leading the charge in all of this as far as mainstream news coverage goes. So, but very, very intriguing. And I missed that when it first came out because I avoid Bret Baier, I'll be honest. Yeah, he rubs me the wrong way. But anyway, yeah, so it has entered the mainstream, and I think that is amazing. So what exactly has entered the mainstream? Well, the hybridization program, right? So what is the hybridization program? Well, I have studied it obsessively, trying to figure it out for years, and the problem is the answers you're given, can you trust them? The beings, sadly, are not in the habit of telling the truth all the time. And, that makes getting to the truth very difficult when our best sources of information are the beings actually responsible for what is going on. And if they won't be truthful, even to people whose minds they are about to wipe, how can we uncover what is really going on? It is a conundrum. It is a riddle. So, just in brief, if you're not super familiar with the hybridization program, it is a common feature of alien abductions or the contactee experience. And, people will be abducted since the time they were little children, and it's very likely that at least one of their parents will have been abducted before them throughout the course of their life, and their genes may have been altered during the course of that life, and the new child might be slightly altered, might be tweaked in some way. And then they will be inducted into the abduction program or the contactee experience, and they will also enter the hybridization program and offer or donate, willingly or not, genetic tissue for use in the hybridization program. There are other aspects to abductions, and some of them are very positive. The aliens, or the beings rather, will teach people amazing stuff. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. But yeah, they will teach people amazing stuff: how to read auras, how to do energy healing, all sorts of fantastic, more metaphysical woo-woo stuff. All of that will sound too fantastic for some people, and I totally understand. I'm right there with you, or at least I was a few years ago, before I started having metaphysical experiences of my own, and now I see how real they are. And I am not surprised at all that advanced beings would have a greater understanding of all this stuff and a greater ability to interact with it. And I am encouraged that they, or at least some of them, are actually teaching people how to develop their own abilities. So that is amazing. Does it have anything to do with the hybridization program? Are they teaching people metaphysical abilities because they want them, maybe that stimulates something in their soul or their consciousness that can transfer to the next generation, so that then the next generation will be tweaked, not just genetically, but spiritually or metaphysically? I think that is a very intriguing question, because people from a line of contactees or abductees, they do tend to have abilities. Not all of them, but that is something that you see in the research quite frequently. The babies born of the hybridization program, the more alien-looking ones tend to stay on the ships, and the more human ones tend to come, to Earth, and to dwell on Earth and learn earthly habits and earthly customs. I encourage you to go read the David Jacobs book, Walking Among Us. And in that is described how these hybrid children and young people are taught basic things like what is a refrigerator or how to buy a t-shirt. Apparently they're not very good at buying t-shirts, because they want to use their mind control just to mind control the clerk and walk off with the t-shirt without paying for it. So, they seem to have some issues with morality, because they are advanced beings that can control people's minds. How do you be a moral individual with absolute power, or at least a great deal of power? And some will say, well, Jack, you talk about the silos of information and how you don't trust them. So can you trust the research of David Jacobs? And I think that's a fair question. However, the hybridization program is reported by many, many, many people. And, David Jacobs and Bud Hopkins, who are really responsible for, getting a lot of this information out there, they regressed thousands of people. Which is another interesting feature of the silos of information, especially in regards to the Barbara Lamb, Dolores Cannon silo, and the David Jacobs, Bud Hopkins silo. Each camp regressed thousands of people and got very different results, which is very intriguing, and why I think that there is some manipulation going on by some force. If you want to learn more about my silos of information videos, see some of my previous videos. But I do believe that there is a hybridization program and that there are hybrids here on Earth. I think the research bears that out pretty well. Now, what are they doing here on Earth? That's where it gets a little murky, and we don't have super solid details on that. David Jacobs believes it's a takeover. Others have a more optimistic view of it. They are here maybe to help us in the event of some sort of cataclysm. And some of the research bears that idea out. I've talked before about how, abductees and contactees, some of them are trained in how to perform crowd control in the event of a cataclysm to herd people onto waiting UFOs that will then take them off. Of course, they've been telling contactees that for decades, and some of them have surely died of old age by now. They've been told they have this great purpose, and it never comes to fruition. So, again, you can't take what the beings say at face value, unfortunately. So we don't know why the hybrids are here on Earth or what they are doing. In a lot of the contactees and abductees might be hybrids as well, because they have been tweaked over generations, seemingly. So, are they hybrids? Is that the right classification for them? I don't know. And I want to be very respectful here, because the abduction phenomenon is widespread. According to the Roper poll, again conducted by Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs, they found that 2% of the global populace, 2% of the global populace were abductees. And David Jacobs has since said that that was a bogus number. They had to throw out a whole bunch of responses because the real number was way too high. It was actually closer to 5%. So that's hundreds of millions of people who are being abducted, if that is true. And whether that number is exactly true or not, I think that we can tell from the level of activity we're seeing and the number of crashes. I mean, just imagine how advanced these beings are and how advanced their craft are, what the tiny percent of crashes must be. So with the enormous amount of crashes we're seeing going back decades, then there must be a lot of ships, a whole lot of ships, a massive, heavy involvement with the Earth and with humanity. So I think that bears out the Roper poll. And what does it mean that the government seems to be hiding these ships that crash and actually interacting with the beings, or at least some subset of the beings? And there are countless cases where the military and government type seem to be interacting with the beings during the course of abductions. So what does that mean? And why is the military, in some cases, firing upon UFOs? And, that's not a single case. That is that doesn't fall victim to the silo of information conundrum. That comes from disparate people over the course of decades in different countries around the world, Europe, South America, America. It's just all over. So, the military is firing on these things, at the same time working with them. So are they working with one group of beings against another group? I don't know. I can't wait for Brett Baer to cover that. Anyway, what do you think about all this craziness? And what do you think about the idea that the hybridization program seems to have entered the mainstream, at least in a small way? I mean, there hasn't been a lot of follow-up. I haven't seen very many others, if any other mainstream anchors talking about the hybridization phenomenon. but at least it is slowly starting to trickle out. So let me know your thoughts. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. Please join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And please, if you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, and there's 2 tiers of membership to receive exclusive access in videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road.